Hey everyone! This video is a little follow-up to my recent video on my MOD2 adaption named Melon to show you what has happened since then. To get us all on the same page, Melon is a 4HP module based around the Raspberry Pi 2350 processor. It comes with various open source firmwares that allow it to act as a kick drum, hi-hat, FM voice, or even as a full Mutable Braids VCO. To learn more details, you can always jump back to my original video, which I will link down in the video description. Now let's have a look at all the updates and see what's been done so far. Panels. Just as promised in the last video, I have gotten around to creating more panels. There are now 6 different ones and I plan to make even more in the future. If you have a strong opinion on what firmware should get its own panel next, please leave a comment in the description so I get a feeling for what's wanted most urgent. Noise. I have isolated a whining noise problem during a long night testing and debugging session in some firmwares that has been quite annoying actually. I solved it by lowering the pulse width modulation carrier frequency down to 96 kHz. Now the module is super silent and is perfectly fine to use for live performances. Talking about performances, I have actually heard from 2 artists that they've already played gigs with the Melon in their case. Go and check out Circles on Acid and MXZR. Infrastructure. The browser flashing interface is still running great and makes flashing the module super easy and convenient. Besides a lot of new firmwares, it actually now draws the UF2 files directly from a GitHub repository that hosts the code for all the different firmwares that are available. In that repository, the firmwares are now automatically built using GitHub Actions. Updates. Before we talk about all the new firmwares, let's quickly mention some updates on existing ones. The radio firmware now comes with a speed control that is actually changeable during sample playback, thanks to a pull request by Jan Philipp. Another user named Cedric made a great effort to improve the existing Braids firmware with a drone mode, so Melon does not need to be triggered anymore. The pull request by him also added a settings page allowing control over attack and release parameters. Firmwares. Lastly, let's talk about all the new amazing firmwares that are now available for the Melon module. Metal Hit. Released by Hagiwo himself only a couple of weeks ago, it didn't take long to port it to the Melon hardware. Here's a quick jam I had with it. For more details and an in-depth demo, check out Hagiwo's video that I'll link down in the description. RALPS. A random algorithmic looping percussion synthesizer. Let that sink in. Author MXZR describes it as a complex percussion synthesizer firmware designed for spontaneous sound design and evolving rhythmic structures. It is based on controlled randomness using 16 different sound engines. He even made a very in-depth video with lots of explanations to it that is definitely worth checking out. I will also put a link down in the video description for the full video. Reese Bass. FX Music made a Reese Bass firmware that consists of 3 detuned sawtooth oscillators with a slow LFO on the detune amount for a classic alive chorus character. Here's a short demo I filmed using this firmware. Drums. Vincent Maurer really tried to get everything out of the RP2350. He made a 15-kit 3-voice drum machine with its own multi-FX section for the Melon. The sequencer in it builds on the Mutable Braids module. It is just incredibly feature-packed and therefore probably best explained by Vincent himself, who luckily also made an in-depth explanation video about the firmware, explaining everything better than I ever could. Still, for some fun, here are a few things I got out of it. fxloperformer. I hope that's how one pronounces it. This firmware is pushing the microcontroller beyond its capabilities. It takes the input that I think Hagiwo definitely didn't intend to be used for audio and uses the FX section of the drums firmware by Vincent and applies it to the input signal and outputs it again. Right to the motto of author MXZR stating in the description of the firmware, don't expect hi-fi, expect fun. Here's something I did with it. Conclusion. This project has really outgrown itself in such a positive way. The response from you on the last video has been really amazing and helped the channel grow quite a bit. Thanks a lot for all the support. This keeps me motivated and makes me want to work on more open source projects. Stay tuned for more of them later. I'm already deep in the development phase of new stuff. Lastly, a huge thanks to all the people who actively contributed to improve the Melon module by creating or updating firmwares. This is why open source is fun. Now happy patching and see you in the next video.